What is up, everybody? This is Chithonia and Lance here bringing you with a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about the other cards that are coming out for the Brandishing Maiden archetype. We're going to be talking about 4 cards today. 4 cards today, and one of them is actually potentially broken. I just glossed over it just to see what it did, and this one is potentially really stupid. This card is called Brandish Mecha Shark Cannon. That's actually a really cool name. It's a quick play spell, which is really crazy, and it only has one effect like the other ones. If there is no monsters in the main monster zone, target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it. If there are 3 or more cards in your opponent or in your graveyard, 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, you can special summon it to your field instead of banishing it, but it cannot attack. This one, like I said, is potentially really busted because it gives you the opportunity to kind of have it kind of simulates a Monster Reborn-esque effect, except it only works for your opponent's graveyard instead of your graveyard. Let's say speculatively you're playing against the Diablos deck where and there's the new Diablos 3000 attack guy in your opponent's graveyard. Well, if you have no monsters in the main monster zone, which is very easy to do in the pure variant of this deck, and it might be very easy to do in various styles of other decks like Metavos or something like that, you can actively play this card to completely disrupt your opponent. Not only will you disrupt your opponent by banishing the card out of the graveyard, you essentially take the card out of the graveyard, but you add it to your field. Even if it can't attack, that's still really good. So it's honestly kind of insane, this card. The second effect, I haven't read this one yet, is Brandishing Mecha Widow Anchor. It's a quick play spell like the other one. If there are no monsters in your main monster zone, target one effect monster on the field, negate that monster's effect until the end of this turn. Then if there are 3 or more spell cards in the graveyard, you could take control of that monster until the end phase. That one's actually also kind of nutty. Having a mind control-esque effect that's not exactly like mind control. It's not as, I don't think it's as powerful because you can still activate the effects in that regard, but the monster can still attack, and you can still do various other shenanigans with the monster other than just straight up not use its effect. You can tribute it, you can use it for other link summons, you can use it for pretty much basically anything that you can feasibly think about. This card can do it. So both these cards are potentially really good. I think this card is actually better than this card, even if it does target and it doesn't negate the effect. I think this card is potentially, maybe in the future, ban-worthy. But we will definitely have to wait and see. This is a really powerful card, and so is this one. This one's more powerful, but this one is equally as powerful. I think both of these have really good chances of seeing competitive play, as well as just seeing overall success in various other decks that can run this. The two more cards. The first one is the third one is Brandish Mecha Hornetbit. Again, another quick play spell. If there are no monsters in your main monster zone, you can special summon 1 Brandishing Maiden token, Warrior, Dark, level 1, 0 attack, 0 defense, in defense position, but it cannot be tributed. If there are 3 or more cards in the graveyard, you can that token's attack and defense becomes 1500. This one's not as good, but it is technically generic link summoning or link summoning support. This card allows you to kind of extend your plays. So, for example, if you open up with the Maiden, the original Maiden, and then you go into the Link monster, and then you summon this card, you could potentially make a Link. You could potentially make more Link monsters. You make like a better board with this. You can make a Security Dragon with that Link monster. You could do some Grinder Golem shenanigans if you want to do that. You can do a lot of other good things with this. It's not as broken as the other 2 that we just talked about, but it is really interesting. It's really cool. And the final one kind of just break this cycle here. It's a normal spell. If there are no monsters in your main monster zone, you target 1 spell, set spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. Then if there are 3 or more spell cards in your graveyard, destroy 1 monster on the field. So it's kind of the reverse of the one that we talked about yesterday. It's not as good, but I'm not saying. Well, actually, no, scratch that. It's actually better than the first one because this one is a spell and trap instead. Granted, it has to be set, but it's a spell and trap nonetheless. Because I think the destruction effect, if you get it for the monster, is not a targeting effect, which I think automatically puts this card above the other one in viability. So it's really cool. I'm actually going to talk about the other two cards here that are down here. I'm not sure what else is left. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this is all that's left, so yeah. Excuse me. The first card, the fifth card, excuse me, is Brandish Airspace Area 0. It's a field spell. You can only use the both effects once per turn. The first effect is you could target one other card you control, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and then add one excavated Brandish card from your to your hand. Shuffle the other cards in the deck. If a Brandish card was excavated, that's send that card target to the graveyard. Hold on, let me reread this real quick. That way, I'm getting the full impact of this effect. You could target one other card you control, excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can add one excavated Brandish card from your deck or to your hand, and then shuffle the other cards in the deck. If Brandish card was excavated, send the target to the graveyard. That could be potentially really good, because if you just I guess for some reason, if you end up with the token, or if you end up with the maiden in the grave on the field, and you don't have any extension plays, and you add something that requires no monsters on the field in the main monster zone, that could be a little bit cloggy. You could also play this field spell in other decks. I think that's what it's kind of alluding to, that you want to play this card in other decks. If you're going to go this route, because this particular effect is not really broken, but having the ability to just send the card to the graveyard, it doesn't destroy it, so you can't get astrograph shenanigans off with it. But I see where they're going with this, so it's kind of cool. It allows you to have your Brandish spells at access at all times, so it's pretty cool. If this card is sent from the field zone to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon one Brandish Maiden monster from your deck, which there's only one so far. So you're only your options are not even limited. They're just not there. So, and the second effect, and the sixth and final card. This card is a Brandish Mechanism multi-roll. It's a continuous spell, which we haven't seen a continuous spell so far, so it's cool. It has 2 effects. Neither of them are hard once per turn, so that's really cool. The first effect is once per turn, you can target one other card you control, send that target to the graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the spell card activations until the end of this turn. This is actually kind of insane, because once per turn, you get to send a card to your graveyard, which might have implications in the future. I can see a Burning Abyss or a Lightsworn player taking full advantage of this effect, and making your spell cards completely non-responsive for the rest of the turn. That's actually nuts. It's actually really, really insane. But let's continue on. We might be overselling this card just a little bit. Once per turn during the end phase, you could set a number of Brandish spell cards with different names from your graveyard to your field, up to the number of Brandish spell cards you activated during this turn while this card was face up, but banish them when they leave the field. Okay, so this effect is not as good as the first one. In fact, I honestly would think that maybe you might want to skip on this effect sometimes. I'm not saying this card is I'm not saying this effect is completely terrible, but I'm going to compare it to a kind of. I'm going to make a really far-fetched and stretching opinion, or a comparison here. It's very comparable to Spellbook of Judgment. Spellbook of Judgment would kind of actively do the same thing, where depending on how many Spellbook cards you activated, you get to add the same number of Spellbook cards from your deck to your hand. This is kind of the same thing, except instead of adding them to your hand, you're sending them from the graveyard to your field, which is really cool, because then that means you have the potential to activate them later on in the same turn and gain some really cool value out of them. It kind of really works with the quick play spells as well, because it's happening during your end phase, so that means they'll be immediately live as soon as your opponent goes into their draw phase. So that's actually really kind of a neat effect for this card. So, but I think it's not as good as the first one still.
Because banishing spell cards kind of counteracts with what the rest of the deck does. Because if you don't have any more in your graveyard, you kind of can't activate the second abilities, which are sometimes better than the first one. So, but I think this is overall a very strong archetype so far. As far as an engine is concerned, I'm not saying that you should play a pure version of this deck because it's going to be virtually impossible. But if you're going to be playing a variant of this deck, you can play Light of Sekka, which is a draw card. So, but yeah. Anyway, if you guys did enjoy, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. I will see you guys in the next video. This has been Jits on the Lines signing out.